moved down.
Oh no.
Yeah. Well, at least it still comes out from the front, but from this side.
Right.
Just have to shout the question. Not working.
第5路有了吗？
对对。
应该是。
对。试音试音。 试音。
Friends from the media, welcome to today's press conference. First, announcements. As the rotating president of the UN Security Council for May, China will hold a Security Council meeting. The theme of this meeting is upholding the purposes and principles of the UN Charter and strengthening the UN-centered international system. Member of the Political Bureau of the CPC Central Committee and Foreign Minister Wang Yi will chair the meeting in New York. He will also attend the meeting of the Group of Friends of Global Governance in New York on May 28th and will have meetings with the UN Secretary General and the foreign ministers from other countries. At the invitation of Canada's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Anita Anand, Foreign Minister Wang Yi will visit Canada from May 28th to 30th. At the invitation of member of the Political Bureau of the CPC Central Committee and Foreign Minister Wang Yi, Singaporean Foreign Minister Vivian Balakrishnan will pay a working visit to China from May 24th to 26th. Now, questions, please.
谢谢发言人。总台央视记者提问：发言人能否介绍？
CCTV, can you share China's thoughts on holding a high-level open debate at the UN Security Council? What message does Foreign Minister Wang Yi hope the open debate to send? Today's world is witnessing accelerating transformations unseen in a century, interwoven reforms and turbulence, and incessant wars and conflicts. The international system, with the UN at its core, faces unprecedented blows and challenges. As the rotating chair of the Security Council for May, China proposed to hold a high-level open debate at the Security Council. It will focus on issues of extensive interest in the international community, including the relevance of the UN Charter in our times, observing and practicing the purposes and principles of the UN Charter, and enhancing the authority and efficacy of the UN and its Security Council. The open debate will be chaired by Foreign Minister Wang Yi and open to all member states. Foreign ministers and high-level representatives of multiple countries have confirmed their attendance, and the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres will brief the event. We hope that parties will renew the lofty goals enshrined in the UN Charter, reiterate their firm commitments to multilateralism, and unite closer together and step up to their responsibility to revitalize the status and role of the UN and put greater synergy for reforming and improving global governance. Next one, please.
谢谢发言人。总台 CGTN 记者提问：5月20日，中俄两国发布关于倡导世界多极化和新型国际关系的联合声明，系统倡导。
China and Russia issued a joint statement on advocating a multipolar world and a new type of international relations, which follows an earlier joint statement on a multipolar world nearly 30 years ago. And it strengthened that we should build more unity and solidarity and mutual trust and cooperation. What is China's consideration? Transformation not seen in a century is accelerating across the globe, and the international situation is fluid and turbulent. As resurgent unilateralism and hegemonism deals a heavy blow to the international system with the UN at its core, and the international order based on international law, the world risks regressing to the law of the jungle. As permanent members of the UN Security Council and responsible major countries, China and Russia must step up to their bound duty and jointly safeguard the authority of the UN and international fairness and justice. The statement elaborates on the positions and propositions shared by China and Russia on the current international situation and makes it clear that the two sides will further deepen strategic coordination on building a multipolar world and improving global governance, send a strong message in keeping with our times, and be a source of stability and strength for the cause of world peace and development. Next question, please.
Could you turn on your mic?
Good afternoon. Question from
法新社。美国海军秘书长称，对台军售被暂停，为了保证对伊朗的战争有足够的弹药，美国将有可能就此进行调整。外交部对此有何评论？
中方坚决反对。
The Chinese side firmly opposes the U.S. for selling arms to the Taiwan region. Our stance has been consistent and firm. Next one, please.
发言人您好，人民日报记者提问。发言人能否介绍王毅外长出席全球治理之友小组会议的考虑？谢谢。
Could you share the considerations behind Foreign Minister Wang Yi attending the meeting of the Group of Friends of Global Governance? President Xi Jinping put forward the Global Governance Initiative in September last year, which offers Chinese solutions to building a more just and equitable global governance system. It has been recognized and supported by nearly 160 countries and international organizations within a short period of time. In December last year, the Group of Friends of Global Governance was inaugurated in New York. Within just 5 months, the group was successfully launched in Geneva and Vienna. With growing membership, its influence and cohesion has also been on the rise. This fully shows that the Global Governance Initiative stands at the forefront of our times and meets the need of all countries. It is where the arc of history bends and public opinion trends. We hope all parties will take the upcoming Group of Friends meeting as an opportunity to build consensus on reforms, strengthen coordination and cooperation, find effective solutions to global challenges, jointly safeguard the authority and stature of the United Nations, and foster a more just and equitable global governance system. Next one, please.
总台华语中心记者提问：发言人昨天介绍了俄罗斯总统普京访华成果，我们注意到。
Yesterday, you briefed us on the outcomes of President Putin's visit. We noted that two presidents signed the joint statement on further strengthening comprehensive strategic coordination and deepening good neighborliness and friendly cooperation. Can you make more introduction? This year marks the 30th anniversary of the China-Russia Strategic Partnership of Coordination and the 25th anniversary of the signing of the Treaty of Good Neighborliness and Friendly Cooperation between China and Russia. The joint statement you mentioned highlights the two anniversaries cover nearly all sectors of bilateral cooperation and is the most important document of political outcomes of the meeting between the two presidents. The two sides spoke highly of the historic significance and the relevance of the Treaty of Good Neighborliness and Friendly Cooperation between China and Russia, and announced to further extend the treaty. The two sides expressed readiness to enhance high-level exchanges, deepen mutually beneficial cooperation in economy and trade, energy, science and technology, culture, people-to-people exchanges, and other fields. The two sides made clear shared propositions and just position on strategic stability, shipping security, climate change, as well as international and regional hotspot issues, and will step up communication on multilateral platforms such as the UN, SCO, BRICS, APEC, and the G20, jointly advocate an equal and orderly multipolar world and a universally beneficial and inclusive economic globalization. The joint statement further consolidates the foundation of China-Russia Comprehensive Strategic Partnership of Coordination for the New Era and charts the course for future cooperation. As the two presidents signed and issued the joint statement, China stands ready to work with Russia to carry forward the spirit of equality, mutual respect, good faith, and win-win cooperation, and work for higher quality development of China-Russia relations. Next one, please.
谢谢发言人。新华社记者提问：发言人能否进一步介绍王毅外长访问加拿大？
Could you brief us more about Foreign Minister Wang Yi's visit to China? China-Canada relations have maintained a positive momentum of growth after experiencing a turnaround. The two sides have been working towards building a new strategic partnership. As the first visit by a Chinese foreign minister to Canada in 10 years, Foreign Minister Wang Yi's trip is of great significance for consolidating the positive momentum in the turnaround of bilateral relations. During the visit, Foreign Minister Wang Yi will have in-depth exchanges with the Canadian side on how to accelerate implementation of the important common understandings at the leadership level and the outcomes of Prime Minister Carney's recent China visit in January, and how to build a truly substantive China-Canada new strategic partnership. It is our hope that through this visit, the two sides could enhance political mutual trust, expand mutually beneficial cooperation, properly manage differences, and ensure that bilateral ties will continue to move forward on the track of sound, steady, and sustainable development to deliver more benefits to both peoples. Next one, please.
A question from AFP.
法新社，台湾官方正在调查3个人，他们将英伟达芯片走私到大陆，违反了出口禁令。外交部对此有何评论？
这不是一个外交。
This is not a diplomatic issue. I'm not familiar with the situation you mentioned. Next one, please.
谢谢发言人。谢谢发言人。北京日报记者提问：据报道，日本自民党提出建议草案。
It is reported that Japan's Liberal Democratic Party has drafted proposals for increasing defense spending, citing countries with defense budget accounting for 3 to 3.5% of their GDP. Meanwhile, recent years have seen a large increase in defense-related sales revenue of Japanese key defense contractors. What is China's comment? According to the latest statistics, Japan's defense expenditure increased by 9.7% in 2025, which hit a record high in history. Its imports of weapons increased by 76% over the past 5 years. Japan's defense spending has been increasing for 14 consecutive years, but Japanese right-wing forces are still clamoring for increasing defense spending. It once again shows that Japan is unmasking its deception of a so-called country for peace and descending into a misguided path of neo-militarism. The Potsdam Proclamation, the Japanese instrument of surrender, and a series of documents with full legal effect under international law explicitly require Japan to be completely disarmed and not to maintain industries that would enable her to rearm for war. After World War II, the exclusively defense-oriented principle was established by the Japanese Constitution. However, Japanese defense contractors that were major engines for producing aggressive equipment for Japanese militarism during the World War II rebranded themselves after the war and massively produced and exported offensive and lethal weapons under the pretext of civil use to facilitate the Japanese government's military build-up and breach of the pacifist constitution, acting as pawns for Japan's remilitarization. Countries in the Asia-Pacific need to watch out against and firmly resist reckless moves of Japanese neo-militarism to jointly safeguard the order of peace in this region. Next one, please.
谢谢发言人。中国新闻社记者提问：今年5月起，中
Starting from May 1st, 2026, China has extended zero tariff treatment to 53 African countries having diplomatic relations with China across the board. Various sectors of Africa pay high attention to this. African Union Commission Chairperson Yusuf said that President Xi Jinping's decision is a very timely move and appreciated this very brotherly gesture. The presidents of South Africa, Kenya, Sierra Leone, and other countries have expressed their firm support. Can you share with us how the treatment is implemented? China is the first major country to voluntarily extend zero-tariff treatment to all African countries having diplomatic ties with China. We have practiced President Xi Jinping's solemn commitment to African leaders with concrete actions. Since the implementation for over 20 days, multiple shipments of goods have cleared customs at various ports and entered China smoothly. At midnight on May the 1st, South African apples became the first batch of imports to China under the zero-tariff policy. In addition, multiple African distinctive quality products, including avocados from Kenya, fresh citrus fruits from Egypt, gypsum from Morocco, bone meal from Nigeria, and wine and pharmaceutical raw materials from South Africa have entered China tariff-free and are now reaching consumers through supermarkets. The zero-tariff treatment has not only enriched the supplies in Chinese market and lowered the cost of trade between China and Africa, but greatly boosted African manufacturers and sellers' confidence. The zero-tariff policy is not a standalone tax arrangement, but part of a broader package of coordinated supporting measures. China has upgraded the green lanes for import of African agricultural and food products to China by optimizing the quarantine clearance procedures and introducing facilitation measures such as risk-based management and others. As part of a broader symphony between China and Africa, the zero-tariff policy underscores the China-Africa friendship and relationship. China will continue to sign agreements on economic partnership for shared development with African countries and build institutional safeguards on long-term, stable, and predictable economic cooperation to ensure the sustained and effective implementation of the zero treatment, so as to better serve the high-quality cooperation between China and Africa in the future. Next one, please.
发言人你好，环球。
Global Times is reported that the U.S. military is set to deploy its Typhoon missile system in Japan's Kanoya Air Base in Kagoshima during the U.S.-Japan military drills between June and September. After that, the system will be transferred to a U.S. military base in Japan. Can I have your comments on this? We noted the reports. China opposes the U.S. deployment of mid-range capability missile systems in Asian countries and has expressed concerns over this on multiple occasions. The deployment of Typhoon, a strategic offensive weapon, will harm the legitimate security interests of other countries, threaten regional strategic security, and push up the risk of military confrontation and arms race. It will bring nothing but harm to peace and stability in the region. Over the years, people from multiple Asian countries, including Japan, have voiced their opposition to the deployment. China urges the U.S. and Japan to listen to the calls of regional countries, correct the erroneous practice, and play a positive role with concrete actions for regional peace and stability. This move is yet another example of Japan's accelerated remilitarization. Various signs show that Japanese right-wing forces are seeking to have an overall restructuring of Japan's military capabilities and preparing for a so-called extended conflict. This essentially will hollow out Japan's constitution and the rules of international and domestic laws and challenge the post-war international order, which is inconsistent with Japan's self-claimed image as a country for peace. The malevolent emergence of Japanese neo-militarism may once again become a source of regional turbulence. The international community must keep in mind the lessons from history, stay on high alert, and jointly restrain this dangerous momentum. Next one, please.
Any other questions?
好，今天的记。
This is all for today's press conference. Thank you.
Well, I think
个